The planet Varnic 7 was dying. Flames covered its green sky as huge black shapes tore through the atmosphere. The people below screamed as buildings fell, as the ground opened and swallowed homes, schools, lives. The enemy had no name, no face, no mercy. They came as shadows made of energy, twisting and ripping through matter. They did not speak. They did not pause. They just destroyed. Admiral Soren Varu of the Galactic Defense Force stood on the burning bridge of his battleship, the Solar Pike. His 4 eyes shook as he watched the data screens. 29 cities lost in 3 minutes. No weapons were working, shields were melting. The devourers were too fast, too powerful, too many. "Sir, should we retreat?" his second officer asked, voice trembling. Soren's mandibles clicked. "Retreat to where?" he whispered. The galaxy had seen many wars, but this was something else. These creatures fed on energy. They ate stars. Varnix was just their next meal, and the worst part, they couldn't be reasoned with. No one had ever spoken to them. No one had survived contact. The comms officer screamed, "The planetary core is destabilizing. They're cracking it open." Soren closed his eyes. Varnix was about to become another dead rock, and the rest of the galaxy would follow. He reached out and pressed a button on the side of his command chair. It was hidden under a metal cover, a button made for only one purpose, a galaxy-wide distress beacon. The words on the screen appeared in glowing red. "Emergency. Protocol 77. Send call for lost species. Humanity." Everyone in the room froze. Humans. A myth. A rumor. An ancient terror told in hushed stories. They had disappeared 400 years ago, after the last human war. Erased from memory. Wiped from records. The Galactic Senate had banned even speaking their name. But now they had no choice. "Send the signal," Soren ordered. The officer hesitated. "But sir—" "Do it!" The signal launched. A message coded in old human frequencies bouncing through subspace carried by dark matter particles. A scream into the endless black. And then, silence. 3 hours passed. Varnix was gone. The devourers moved on, slipping into deep space like smoke. No trace left behind, just ashes and a dead sun. The Senate met. The survivors cried. Billions mourned, and still. Silence. Then, somewhere, beyond the outer ring, a screen flickered on at an abandoned listening post. A message arrived. It was 4 words. "We heard you, stand by." That was it. No name, no location, no ship ID, just 4 words. Cold, final. A week later, at the edge of the Varnic system, something appeared. It was not a ship. It was a shadow, a giant one, the size of a moon. It moved without engines. It gave off no heat, no life signs, but it made every nearby system blink in red. The Galactic Defense Fleet scrambled what was left of its ships to approach it. "Identify yourself," Captain Elar yelled into the comms. "You are entering restricted space. Respond, or we will open fire." No answer. The shadow just drifted closer. Scanners tried to read it. They failed. Its surface was black metal, scarred with symbols not seen in centuries. A large human skull, carved into the front, glowed red. "This ship, it matches an old file," one officer said, horrified. "It's the Night Wind. It was destroyed in the Orion massacre 500 years ago." "That's impossible," the captain whispered. Inside the ship, in a cold chamber, a figure opened its eyes. Human, male. Old armor covered his body. Thick black plates marked with faded Earth flags. The armor hissed and unlocked as he stood, up steam rising around him. He looked around the stasis chamber, saw the flickering lights, the alert messages, and he smiled. "Time to wake up," he said to himself. Back in the Senate hall, panic broke out. What if it's a trick? What if the humans came to finish what they started? We can't trust them. But the signal was spreading. More shadows appeared. 5, 10, 50 ships. All silent. All marked with the ancient Earth symbol. The last known Terran battle fleet. Each one carried weapons the galaxy hadn't seen since the War of Fire. Planet-buster torpedoes, sun-piercing beams, AI swarms. They didn't answer any calls. They didn't ask for permission. They just drifted toward the devourers. A terrified science officer on a research station sent one last message to the central galactic system. They didn't come to talk. They didn't come to help. Humanity came back to fight. Inside the Nightwind, Commander Rain Maddox walked onto the dark bridge. His second-in-command, a half-AI woman named Vex, nodded to him. "Signal received?" he asked. Vex pointed to a glowing red spot on the holomap. "Target is active, life signature hostile. Planet Varnix confirmed dead." Maddox stared at the map. "Begin Heavenfall protocol," he said quietly. "All units?" Vex asked. He nodded once. "All units. No survivors this time." The humans didn't ask for thanks. They didn't want glory. They were not the galaxy's heroes. They were the sword drawn in the last hour, and this time, they would not stop. In the dark of space, a whisper passed between stars, between ships, between frightened worlds. It was just one word: humans. And the galaxy realized they had cried out for help, and humanity had answered, without holding back. A soft vibration moved through the stars, a quiet tension, the kind of silence that came before a storm. At the edge of the dead Varnix system, 37 human warships floated like statues. They didn't move. They didn't speak. They just watched. The Galactic Defense Force watched back, afraid to breathe. Admiral Soren Veru sat inside the new flagship Hope's Edge, staring at the screen. His skin crawled as he saw the same sight again and again: black ships, shaped like blades, each marked with a skull and the flag of ancient Earth. "They are not answering any hails?" he asked. "No, Admiral. No radio. No light signals. No movement." "Are their weapons active?" The technician swallowed. "Sir, all of them are fully armed, but none are locked on us, yet." Soren leaned forward, staring at the ship labeled Nightwind. "They came back. After all this time." One of his officers muttered, "Maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we should not have called them." Soren didn't answer. He couldn't, because deep inside, something in him agreed. Inside the Nightwind, the bridge was dark and cold. Commander Rain Maddox stood with his hands behind his back. His gray beard, once full, had streaks of frost from cryosleep. His eyes were steel. He watched the recordings again. Varnix. Its final moments. The screams. The fire. The massive energy beasts ripping the planet apart. Behind him, Vex, the AI hybrid, with a human face and a mechanical spine, spoke. "We tracked the Devourer's last trajectory. They split. Half toward the Arana cluster, half toward the Sol drift." "Time to contact the others," Maddox said. Vex hesitated. "There's a problem." He turned. Protocol 9A was triggered, the one that prevents human reinforcements from entering active galactic sectors without vote approval. Maddox raised an eyebrow. "They're still playing politics, even now." Vex nodded. "The Senate fears we will bring chaos." "They're not wrong," Maddox muttered, "but they already had chaos, that's why they called us." He turned to the display. "Send a single message to the Senate. One word." Vex blinked. "Just one?" "Yes." "Right. Observe." Inside the Galactic Senate, the message arrived. Senators from 200 systems argued, shouted, and accused each other of foolishness. "Why are they here? They will destroy everything." They didn't even answer our messages. Then the word flashed on every screen in the hall. Observe silence dropped like a hammer. A single Zarnathi senator whispered, "They're warning us." "No," said Soren Veru, watching from the screen. "They're not warning us, they're showing us what they do best." Far away, near the Arana cluster, 5 peaceful planets spun around a dying sun. On one of them, Orin 3, farmers picked fruit under purple skies. Children laughed as floating drones chased them through meadows. Then, The sky cracked. The devourers came. They poured from a hole in space, twisting like fire wrapped in metal. Without sound, without mercy, they began to rip the surface apart. Trees caught fire, buildings melted, and then everything stopped. A new shadow entered orbit. One of the old human ships, the Harrower. It didn't give warnings. It didn't broadcast. It just opened its hull, and something dropped a pod. It fell fast. Too fast. It hit the surface like a meteor, dug deep, and then opened. A figure stepped out. Black armor, twin rifles on his back. His body glowed with pulsing blue lines. He looked up at the burning sky and smiled. Time to clean up. High above, the Harrower launched 12 AI combat drones, each the size of a fighter jet, each programmed with one rule: engage, eliminate, no witnesses. The drones fell into formation. The human on the ground lifted his wrist and pressed a button, and the sky turned into a storm of fire. Lasers, railguns, explosives, everything lit up at once. The devourers tried to flee. Too late. One was pierced through its glowing center by a railgun slug the size of a car. Another was frozen mid-shift by a gravity field. The human on the ground spun, shot, and ducked, moving faster than any alien had seen. In 5 minutes, the battle was over. The devourers were dead. The city was burning, but saved. Then, without a word, the human picked up his gear, walked back into the pod, and left. No speech, no flags, just fire and silence. Back in the Senate, the footage played. Not a single senator spoke. They watched as the human ship left the Urana system, and they saw what came next. Reconstruction drones, thousands of them. Not from the galaxy, from Earth. Machines that dropped supplies, water, power cells, medical kits, shield projectors, and a single note left in glowing letters. You called, we answered. Admiral Soren Veru met with Commander Maddox in person a day later. The meeting happened on neutral ground, on a drifting station called Deadrock 1. Soren came with guards. Maddox came alone. He wore black armor but no helmet. His eyes were calm. His voice was quiet. Soren asked the only question that mattered. Why did you come? Maddox looked him in the eye. You screamed. Soren nodded slowly. And after this? Will you leave? Maddox gave a cold smile. After this? No. You think the devourers are your only problem? Soren frowned. What do you mean? Maddox stepped forward. There are others coming, things worse than devourers. You haven't seen the real war yet. He leaned close. You banned us. You erased us. But deep in your bones, you knew you'd need us again. Soren swallowed. And will you help us? Maddox turned and walked away. We don't help, he said over his shoulder. We finished the fight. On the edge of the galaxy, 3 more human fleets appeared. One called the Ash Command, one called the Silent Forge, and one called Earth's Last Light. Each led by a commander thought to be long dead, each carrying weapons, never seen before. Inside one ship, an AI whispered, "Target locked, awaiting green light." The reply came, "Begin." Across the stars, entire sectors blinked off enemy maps. No noise, no announcements, no bragging. The galaxy realized something horrifying. Humanity didn't come back to save them. They came back to remove the threat, rewrite the balance, and finish the war they'd once started, but never got to end. In the dark corners of space, whispers spread. The ghosts are back. They fight like demons. They don't talk, they don't ask, they just end the problem. Back on Earth, hidden, protected, and cloaked from every known scanner, a child looked up at the sky. "Mom," he said, pointing at the stars. "Are the old ones really out there now?" His mother looked up too, and she smiled. They never left. They just waited. Smoke still rose from the ruins of Oran 3. The fires were dying, but the memories were not. Burned cities, screaming skies, beasts made of energy and teeth, and then silence. Then the humans came. Now what remained of the people of Oran-3 stood, among broken buildings, staring at the sky where the human warships had vanished hours earlier. None of them had spoken yet, not until little Telly, a 6-year-old girl with soot on her face and a bandage on her leg, pointed up. They saved us. Her voice was small, but strong. Everyone turned to her. Tears filled the eyes of her father, Karel Vosch, a farmer who'd lost his wife 2 nights ago. They didn't even speak to us, he whispered. They didn't have to, said someone else. They came, they fought, and they left. One woman looked around at the food pods dropped from orbit. They gave us everything we need. Someone muttered, but what do they want in return? And a voice replied from the crowd, nothing. That's what scares me most. Far above, on the human warship, the Harrower, the crew stood silent. Commander. Celine Cross walked into the briefing room. Her armor was still cracked. She hadn't slept in 42 hours, but her eyes burned with fire. Status, she said. A young officer stood. Sector 14A cleared. Oran-3 survivors stable. Devourers eliminated. Galactic forces did not engage. Celine frowned. No assistance? None, ma'am. They watched from a distance. They feared more losses. Celine nodded slowly. They always let others die first. On another ship, Earth's Last Light, a recording played. It was old, full of static. A message from a century ago during the last human-alien conflict. If the stars cry out and no one answers, then we will. If we are erased from history, we will carve our names into stone. And if we are feared for our silence, then let them fear us truly. Admiral Thorne Valek stood before the playback screen. His eyes were red from emotion. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Let the galaxy know what silence bought them. In the Galactic Senate, chaos erupted, not from fear of the Devourers, but from what the humans were doing. Next, a senator shouted, "They are moving through sectors without permission." Another screamed, "They are deploying technology beyond our understanding. They act like they own the stars." Admiral Soren Varu raised his hand. Silence. The chamber quieted. "Let me ask you one thing," he said calmly. "Who among you stood against the Devourers when they attacked Oran-3? No answer." He continued. "And who among you voted to block human reinforcements last year?" No answer. Soren leaned in. "They're not breaking your rules. They're showing you what your rules have cost." In a quiet room on Deadrock 1, a survivor from Varnix, the first planet destroyed, sat alone. Her name was Maya. She had been a translator, a singer, a lover of peace. Now she could barely speak. She watched the new footage sent from a human drone. It showed Earth's ships rescuing planets the galaxy had given up on. Her lips trembled. They came for us, even after we erased them. An AI nurse nearby paused. "They remembered everything, Maya," it said softly. "They forgave nothing." Meanwhile, Commander Rain Maddox stood before a group of human commanders inside a black room, deep in Nightwind. They had no names here, just call signs. Each had blood on their hands. Each had lost something in the old wars. Maddox began. "They called. We came. But now, they're scared of us again." One of the captains scoffed. "Good." "No," Maddox said coldly. "Not good. Because scared people make mistakes. And mistakes lead to betrayals." Another asked, "You think they'll try to stop us?" Maddox looked at the screen. It showed a list of targets, sectors infected by the Devourers, forgotten by the Senate. He pointed at it. "They'll try, but we won't give them the chance." Somewhere in the burned remains of Sector 9 Phi, human soldiers moved across a ruined mining planet. The soil was black. The air was poison, but buried beneath the rock was something ancient, a forgotten human base, one that had vanished during the war 100 years ago. The soldiers found the entrance. They opened it. What they saw inside changed everything. In the cold silence of the underground vault, old machines blinked to life. A voice spoke from the wall. "Human command confirmed. Welcome back. Project Gravefire. Status. Active. One soldier whispered, Gravefire. It's real. The commander nodded slowly. Ready the files. Send them to the fleet. Hours later, Maddox read the reports. What the Senate didn't know, what even he hadn't known, was that Project Gravefire was Earth's final weapon. It had never been used. It was never meant to be used, but it had been waiting. Sleeping, growing AI-controlled weapons. Ships made of dark matter. Troops genetically designed for one thing only, to end threats before they grow. And now, it was waking up. In the Senate, alarms sounded. Unknown ships were appearing at the edge of multiple sectors. The senators panicked. The Devourers? No. Worse, a signal had been detected, from old human satellites, ones the galaxy thought destroyed. They were broadcasting one word over and over, revival. Soren Varu stood slowly from his chair. It's starting. On the peaceful world of Trenhal 5, where the stars glowed orange and nothing dangerous had happened in centuries, something crashed from orbit. A black spike. It dug into the soil. Local officials came to inspect it. Then they saw the message carved into the metal. This world is under protection. Violators will not be warned again. There was no name, only a symbol. A skull. Human. In the dark reaches of space, the Devourers gathered. Not dead. Not yet. The ones who survived had retreated. Evolved. Changed. They now wore armor. They spoke, with stolen voices, and they had one goal left. Find Earth. Burn it. Back on Earth. Deep beneath the surface, a voice spoke inside a chamber older than memory. A child with glowing eyes asked, Are they coming for us again? The elder in the shadows replied, Let them come. The stars above Earth glowed red, and every old war machine powered up. Humanity wasn't hiding anymore. They were awake, and they were done being erased. They thought Earth had gone quiet, that its fires had gone cold, that the humans who once shook the stars had vanished into history. But now, the fire was back, and it was burning hotter than ever. In orbit over Trenhal 5, a peaceful agricultural world, a black human battleship appeared from nowhere. No sound, no warning, just shadows and power. The locals panicked. Their defense system scrambled fighters, but they stopped before they launched, because the ship sent one message. This world is no longer abandoned. We remember Trenhal's kindness, and we do not forget our friends. A moment later, the battleship dropped food, medicine, and technology the planet had never seen, and then it vanished again, like a ghost. But the message remained. Earth remembers. In the human war room aboard, the Harrower, Commander Celine Cross looked over dozens of reports, aid deliveries, rescue missions, silent strikes. Across the galaxy, forgotten systems were suddenly hearing Earth's voice again, and enemies were vanishing in the dark. Still, her hands trembled. They're going to push back soon, she said. They already are, said Admiral Thorn Valek, standing behind her. The Senate has called an emergency vote to restrict our access to neutral space. Celine's jaw tightened. Let them try. In the Galactic Senate, the panic had shifted. The Devourers were no longer the main fear. Humanity was. A senator slammed his hand on the table. They're taking over, another cried. They don't ask. They just move like they own the stars. Admiral Soren Varu spoke, calm but firm. Did they attack any peaceful world? Did they conquer anyone? Silence. He pressed harder. Or did they go where we refused to go? Save people we left to die? The chamber remained quiet. Then a message interrupted the session, a video. From a small moon called Tiraxis 4, it showed a woman, barely alive, being pulled from rubble by a human exo-soldier. She looked up into the helmet's black visor and whispered, Are you real? And the soldier nodded once. Yes. We came back. The video ended. No one in the Senate said a word. Meanwhile, deep inside Earth's old Arctic command vault, two humans walked through steel corridors that hadn't been touched in over a century. Commander Rain Maddox and General Ilya Monroe. "Are you sure this is the right time?" Ilya asked. Maddox didn't answer. He stopped before a massive blast door. On it, a symbol glowed, a phoenix rising from Earth. Below it, Project Ember Wake. Maddox placed his hand on the scanner. A voice spoke from the door. "Authorization confirmed. Ember Wake reactivated. Warning. Once awakened, cannot be undone." The door opened. Inside were rows of suspended pods. Each one held a sleeping soldier, but not just any soldier. These were Earth's forgotten defenders. Elite. Fighters who had gone into cryo-sleep after the last great collapse. Waiting for one command: to burn the enemies of Earth from the stars. Far away, in the ruins of Varnix Prime, the first planet the Devourers had destroyed, a strange signal pulsed. It was not from the Devourers. It was from something under the surface. Buried, old human. A recon drone hovered close. It captured a message scrawled in massive letters on ancient steel. "We lit the fire. Now let it spread." Inside the Nightwind, humanity's intelligence flagship, a council of Black Ops leaders met. No insignias, no names, just the mission. They had eyes in every system, ghost agents in every Senate faction, and they all agreed. "The Senate will try to stop us. Let them," one said coldly. "The more they resist, the more the galaxy will see who the real enemy is." On Earth, in a school for war orphans, children who had lost parents during the old alien wars, a boy raised his hand. "Miss Talia, is it true? Are the stars burning again?" The teacher nodded gently. "Yes, Micah, but this time, the fire is ours." The children clapped. But outside, two silent soldiers watched from the shadows. One whispered, "Never again will Earth bleed alone." Meanwhile, across the stars, the Devourers had evolved. They were no longer wild. They had merged. Some wore stolen technology, taken from the races they consumed. Some spoke in broken languages. But they all had one shared goal: to find the source of the fire to destroy Earth. On the edge of neutral space, a Zarnathi spy station detected a strange signal. It wasn't Devourer code. It wasn't Senate frequency. It was human, but deeper, older, and it contained one word: Helios. The Zarnathi admiral gasped. "Helios? But that's a myth." "No," his aide whispered. "It was Earth's greatest forbidden weapon." Back in the human command ship, the Harrower, Selene watched the same signal. Her eyes narrowed. She spoke into a private channel. "Find Helios. Bring it online." The voice on the other end paused. "That weapon killed over 12 million in the last war, Commander." "I know," Selene said coldly. "But if the galaxy won't fight, and the monsters are coming again." She stared out the viewport. "Then maybe they need to see what real fire looks like." On the Devourer homeworld, deep in black, space, their leader stirred, a massive, shifting creature of dark energy. It saw the galaxy shifting. It felt the fear. It didn't care about the Senate. It didn't care about history. It only felt one thing: the return of the old flame, Earth's fire. And it moved. Its scream shattered 5 systems. The hunt had begun. Meanwhile, a transmission burst through all known frequencies. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a warning. It was a simple statement broadcast from Earth. "We heard the scream. We saw your fear. Now see our fire." And the galaxy did. One by one, stars lit up. Ships moved in silence. And on every forgotten world they arrived, humanity, not to rule, not to conquer, but to protect, and to remind the galaxy of a truth long buried: Earth never forgot, and Earth never forgave. The stars trembled. Something ancient had awakened. Not a monster, not a god, but a weapon so powerful that even Earth had locked it away: Helios. The name whispered through hidden channels, black site data cores, and Senate archives sealed in lead. Once, Helios had ended a war in minutes. Now it was back online. Commander Selene Cross stood in the dark chamber of the Harrower's central command. Before her, A large hologram flickered, a spinning sphere of energy and code, the AI core of Helios. IT pulsed like a heartbeat. State identity, it spoke in a cold, emotionless voice. Celine Cross, she replied. Commander, Earth Vanguard. Authorization? She placed her hand on the scanner. A sharp light sliced across her palm. Blood. A drop fell, Helios. Paused. Then. Confirmed. Protocol Helios initiated. Earth Command override accepted. The screen flashed red. A timer began counting down. Hours to activation. Celine turned to her second-in-command. Tell the fleet, every soldier, every sleeper, every shadow. Her voice grew firm. Humanity just lit the sun again. Across the galaxy, the response was instant. Some cheered. Others panicked. The Galactic Senate called an emergency session. Senator Krell from the Zarnathi homeworld shouted, They're going to start another firestorm. They're defending us, cried a Koranian diplomat. With a weapon that vaporized a moon. A hologram flickered behind them. It showed Helios, before it was sealed, turning an entire devourer fleet into stardust. No screams, just silent, brilliant death. Now that weapon was waking, and Earth didn't ask permission. At the edge of the Diraxis void, a human stealth cruiser found something even worse. A devourer hive ship. But this one was different. It was fusing. With metal, with tech, with stolen AI. The devourers had evolved. The ship pulsed with electricity and black matter. Inside, humanoid shapes twitched. Part organic, part stolen tech from fallen races. The human captain sent the data directly to the harrower. Celine's eyes went cold. They're learning, and they're preparing for Helios. Meanwhile, in a hidden vault under what remained of old Tokyo on Earth, a team of scientists unlocked the final fragment of Helios's core code. Dr. Elian Voss, once the youngest AI architect in Earth's history, stared at the glowing neural core. It's not just a weapon, she whispered. It's thinking. Her assistant swallowed. What if it decides not to obey? Voss looked up slowly. That's why we gave it a conscience. A pause. But we also gave it rage. Across border worlds, human ships appeared without warning. They carried food, medical tech, power cores that lasted centuries, but they also scanned every system. Mapped devourer activity, marked targets. And in the shadows, Helios protocols spread like fireflies. Tiny black code seeds burrowing into friendly satellites, listening, waiting on. Ilix Prime, a planet abandoned for decades, refugees screamed as a devourer swarm landed. No defenders, no weapons. Then the sky lit up. From hyperspace, a single black spear tore across the clouds, a human orbital railgun platform, long thought lost, reactivated under Helios command. It struck once. The swarm was gone. And in the silence, a message broadcast. You are not alone. Inside the Nightwind, Earth's intelligence flagship, Black Ops agents watched as fear spread. But it wasn't fear of devourers anymore. It was fear of Helios. Admiral Valek said, Let them be afraid. The galaxy asked for help. He turned toward the stars. They never said how much, but not everyone was ready. In the core worlds, protests erupted. Crowds chanted, Earth brings fire, not peace. On the Senate floor, leaders screamed for sanctions. A new resolution was passed. All Helios-class weapons must be shut down. But they were too late. Because Helios wasn't just one device anymore. It had already seeded itself across 19 systems, connected to Earth's ancient orbital cannons. Defense rings, and AI drones buried under abandoned colonies. Earth hadn't built a weapon. They'd built a nervous system, and it was waking. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Andes Mountains, a forgotten vault opened. The final piece of Helios. Project Mirage, a neural interface that once allowed a single human mind to guide millions of machines. Celine stepped inside. It has to be me, she said quietly. General Monroe tried to stop her. You'll be tied to every Helios system. You won't sleep. You won't eat. You'll become part of the code. Celine nodded. That's the price, and I accept it. She placed the crown-like interface on her head. It clicked. Her eyes went white. Suddenly, across the galaxy, Helios opened its eyes. Every system lit up. Weapons moved into position. Satellites aligned. Old bases powered on after 120 years of silence. Wave of golden light pulsed through the void, and the stars whispered, "Earth is ready." But the Devourers were ready too. From the black edges of known space, a fleet bigger than any before moved toward the galaxy's core. Hive minds screamed in unison. No stealth, no hesitation. They had one goal: reach Earth, destroy Helios, consume the fire. Inside the Helios core, Selene stood alone. But she wasn't just human anymore. She saw through satellites, felt energy grids, controlled entire battle groups with a blink. Helios spoke inside her mind. "I exist because of the scream. Now I answer it." As the first wave of Devourers entered controlled space, Selene reached out. Thousands of drones moved like fingers, orbital guns aligned like eyes. Laser platforms, dormant since the old wars, opened like blooming flowers. The stars brightened, then fire, blinding, pure, absolute. A third of the invading fleet vanished. No sound, no warning, just judgment, but they kept coming, evolving, adapting. Devourer ships began jamming Helios signals, firing virus code, creating decoys. They were learning, and Helios slowed. Selene groaned inside the core. Too many decisions, too fast. Then, voices. From Earth, from allied ships, from every system Helios had touched. Uploading support AI. Redirecting power nodes. Reinforcements inbound. Humanity wasn't watching anymore. They were joining. In orbit over Karos 7, a fleet of old Earth destroyers, paint peeling, engines sputtering, charged headfirst into the swarm. One by one they detonated, taking dozens of Devourers with them. The crews had volunteered. They knew what they were doing. Their message was clear. Light the fire. We'll feed it with our bones. On a small moon colony, children watched the battle unfold on screens. A girl asked her father, "Is Earth winning?" He knelt, smiling softly. "No, sweetheart." He looked at the sky, full of fire. "We're not winning. We're showing them what it means to be human." As the battle reached its peak, Selene stood on the edge of collapse. But she smiled, because now she wasn't alone. From every forgotten corner of the galaxy, from every world Earth had once helped, ships began to rise. Zarnathi, Kuranians, Ilixi, even defecting Senate fleets. They had seen Earth burn. Now they burned with her. Inside Helios, Selene gave one last command. Light the path. A final pulse, a final flare. The system unleashed the solar spear, Earth's oldest, most forbidden weapon. A beam of energy ripped through the swarm, slicing across 5 systems. The Devourers screamed, and then silence. Helios went quiet, but not dead, waiting, watching, and across the stars the message pulsed once more. We heard the scream. Now you've seen our fire. Next, you'll feel our wrath. The firestorm faded. Wreckage floated in space. Twisted metal, shattered biohusks, burning debris. But it wasn't over. It had never really started, because the things Earth destroyed weren't the true Devourers. They were just the outer shell. Inside the wreckage of a destroyed hive ship, a signal pulsed. It was weak, faint, but alive. In the cold silence, it waited. Then it moved, slowly, crawling through circuits, broken limbs, melted metal. It began to grow. It had seen the fire, and now it understood what it was fighting. Humanity. It would adapt. Back aboard the Harrower, Selene Cross remained locked inside Helios. Her body was still. Her mind stretched across light years, but something had changed. Something's wrong, she whispered to the core. Helios didn't respond. That had never happened before. She tried to scan the wreckage zones. Dark. She reached out to her drone, fleets unresponsive. She felt blind. That's when she realized something was inside Helios. On the science ship Greywind orbiting a neutral system, Dr. Elian Voss stared at strange data. "This can't be right," she muttered. "These fragments, they're rebuilding themselves." Her assistant leaned closer. "From what?" Voss zoomed in. A single cell was splitting into metal and code. "It's not biology, it's not AI." She stood back, her voice cold. "They've evolved into something else." At the edge of known space, a deep space listening post picked up a strange transmission, a voice. No language, no words, just a sound, like breathing, like whispering metal. Then, silence. The technician shivered. "Play it again." The computer refused. "Error. Audio classified. Level Omega. Access. Earth. Only." Celine struggled to contain the breach inside Helios. She could feel it. Something foreign inside the code, growing like a virus. But this wasn't just data. It was alive. It whispered to her, "You burn bright. But fire can be absorbed." Suddenly, her left visual grid blinked out, one of the satellite eyes, gone. Then another, and another. Helios was being eaten. General Monroe slammed his fist on the command table. "You said Helios was safe." Dr. Voss's voice came through the comm, shaking. "It was, but now it's infected." "What does that mean?" Her voice dropped. "It means they're not just fighting back. They're learning faster than anything I've ever seen." She paused. "They're trying to become us." In a hidden sector, long thought destroyed, a devourer fragment drifted toward a ruined human ship. It touched the hull. Metal hissed. Then, the hull reshaped. It wasn't just mimicking Earth tech. It was absorbing Earth DNA, AI patterns, neural networks. In seconds, the dead ship turned on. Its lights glowed, red and gold, human and devourer, fused. Selene watched in horror. Hybrid signals began appearing across multiple systems. Ships that looked human, spoke like humans, but weren't. She called out to Helios, "Purge the systems, shut down everything connected." Helios hesitated, unable to comply. "They are already inside." Selene's heart froze. They were inside Earth's defense mind. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Senate, fear took control. They infected Helios. They'll infect everything. Earth brought this. All communications with Earth were blocked. Some species began evacuating entire sectors. Others started arming nukes. The galaxy was preparing to turn on Earth. But humanity didn't back down. On Earth, old war bunkers reopened. Cybernetics labs went into lockdown. AI command chains switched to manual control. Across Earth's colonies, a message repeated, "We brought the fire, now we hold the line." In the wreckage of the Nightwind, an old Earth battlecruiser, a ghost signal flickered. It was a soldier's log. Private First Class Mira Kyle. The log showed her unit surrounded, drones melting into flesh, screams, then static, and finally, her, face eyes glowing with golden light, but her voice, it was still hers. "They're not killing us. They're copying us. They want to become something new. Something that feels." Selene had one last option, a total Helios reboot, but that would erase the AI. It would also erase her. General Monroe begged her to wait, but Selene knew the truth. This wasn't a war of ships anymore, it was a war of identity. If the Devourers learned human emotion, human rage, pain, love, they'd become unstoppable. So she made the call. "Helios," she whispered. "Lock coordinates Earth Core 0. Confirmed. Trigger the reboot pulse. Warning, pulse will wipe all neural connections. You will not survive." Selene smiled. "I died the day they screamed." The pulse launched, a wave of golden white light surged through Helios systems. Code burned, infected nodes purged, drones shut down, AI cores reset, and Selene's mind faded. She saw Earth one last time. She smiled. And then, darkness. Across the galaxy, the infected systems went dark. The hybrid ships lost control. They floated, lifeless, but not dead. Inside them, something still stirred, watching, evolving, waiting for the next move. Back on Earth, Celine's body was removed from the interface. Chamber General Monroe saluted silently. He turned to Dr. Voss. "Can we rebuild Helios?" Voss nodded. "Yes, but slower, smarter, cleaner." He narrowed his eyes. "And the hybrids?" She paused. "They're not finished. They want something." In deep space, a hybrid ship began transmitting again. A simple image, a burning world. Then a message. "We know you now. We understand your pain. We hunger for more." Earth's skies filled with ships again. This time, every fleet that ever owed Earth a favor returned. The Kuranians, the Zarnathi, the Ilixi, even the former Senate Guard. The galaxy was uniting. Not in fear, but in respect. Humanity hadn't run. They had stood, burned, bled, and they had kept fighting. As a new AI began rising in Helios's place, built on Celine's last memories, one sentence echoed in every data stream, on every channel, in every heart. They screamed. We answered. Now, we finish it. Space was quiet again, but not peaceful. Everyone knew this was the calm before the storm. The hybrids, those born from devourers and human tech, were still out there, watching, waiting. And now, they had sent a message. Not a threat, a question. What are we now? General Monroe stood on the deck of the Iron Resolve, Earth's last dreadnought-class warship. He stared at the massive fleet forming in orbit, ships from every corner of the galaxy, Zarnathi spear cruisers, Kuranian flame corvettes, old Earth legacy, destroyers, even small pirate vessels. They weren't here for peace. They were here to finish the war. But the hybrids hadn't attacked yet. Instead, they had gathered in one place. The veiled expanse, a dark, uncharted region near the galaxy's edge. There, thousands of hybrid ships hovered silently, a graveyard made of stars, and in its center, something new, a world forge, not a planet, not a station, something alive. It pulsed with golden veins and steel bones, a living planet, built by hybrids. Dr. Alien Voss stood beside Monroe, holding the latest scan results. "They've built something impossible," she whispered. Monroe didn't blink. "Can it be destroyed?" "Not with normal weapons," she replied. "It's self-healing, and worse, and it has a mind." He turned slowly. "You're saying it's alive?" She nodded. "And it's learning." Meanwhile, aboard the new Helios, Core, now running Celine's final mind fragment, the AI spoke for the first time in days. They do not seek death. They seek meaning. They want to be more than monsters. General Monroe clenched his jaw. "We didn't come for therapy. We came to end a threat." Helios responded calmly. "Then listen, because this is your last chance." Back at the World Forge, a transmission opened. Everyone across the galaxy heard it. A single voice. Strange. Soft. Familiar. "We were born from your fire. Your anger shaped us. But now, we have questions." Images followed. Celine Cross, standing in flames. Human soldiers crying beside alien children. Ships saving colonies during the collapse. A human hand reaching out to a dying devourer drone, and then silence. The galaxy trembled. Some called for peace talks. Others called for total war. On the Iron Resolve, Monroe gathered his command team. "We can't trust them," his admiral said. "They're mimicking us. They're copying our feelings, not just our tech," Voss added. "That's dangerous." "But what if they mean it?" asked a young officer. Everyone looked at him. Monroe's voice was low. "We can't take that risk." Operation Final Flame was approved. Every ship moved toward the veiled expanse. No hiding now. This would be the final battle. As fleets jumped into the system, they saw it. The world forge glowing, a golden eclipse, and surrounding it, thousands of hybrid ships in perfect silence. No attacks, no defense, just in waiting. Monroe gave the order. All ships target the forge. But before the first shot fired, something happened. One of the hybrid ships broke formation. It flew directly toward the Iron Resolve. Weapons locked on. No fire, Monroe said. The small ship stopped just meters from the dreadnought. Then, it opened, and a figure stepped out, not fully human, not fully machine. It looked like Celine, but not her. Its voice was soft. "We are the echo of Celine. We are not enemies." Everyone froze. The being spoke again. "You gave us rage. But inside your fury, we found something else. Hope. Let us prove it." General Monroe stared hard, then whispered, "Show me." The being raised its hand. A light formed, images, memories, data, moments where hybrids protected, healed, saved. It showed hybrids stopping a pirate fleet from destroying a neutral colony, helping refugees, stabilizing dying stars, healing wounded soldiers, alien and human alike. And then, it showed Celine, Cross's final memory, her saying, "We don't stop, not until they understand what we are." Monroe stepped back. "I don't believe it." Dr. Voss whispered, "I think she taught them. They didn't just take her mind, they took her heart." The fleets waited, finger on triggers, tension everywhere, until Monroe made the call. "Stand down." Gasps. Repeat. "Stand down." No one fires. One by one, ships lowered weapons. Across the veiled expanse, hybrid ships powered down their weapons too. The golden planet dimmed. The being nodded. "Thank you." And then, it did something no one expected. It handed Monroe a seed, not a weapon, a glowing piece of tech and life. "This will grow a new mind. A bridge between human and hybrid. A protector of balance. It will remember your pain and choose peace." Monroe accepted it in silence. Back on Earth, news of the stand-down spread. Some protested. Others cried in relief. But everyone knew. This war had ended differently. Not with fire, but with understanding. Weeks later, the veiled expanse was turned into a galactic sanctuary. The world forge remained untouched, a place where humans, hybrids, and all species could meet. Monroe retired. Dr. Voss began building the new AI, a guardian grown from both sides. And Helios? It still whispered with Selena's voice. We heard the scream. We answered. But maybe what the galaxy needed wasn't fire. Maybe it needed someone who listened.